spite of the fact that they are at the very foundation of our faith. Like Jen and Bill said, the commandments were given to Moses as he led the people of Israel toward what they were hoping was a much better life. And even if we don't know the exact words, we have the Ten Commandments rolling around in the back of our minds a lot. I find the one at the end about coveting problematic. Who of us has not experienced some covetousness or envy at one time or another? Who doesn't want to look like George Clooney's new beautiful wife? Oh, such a gorgeous girl. Or like George Clooney himself. Who does not internally whistle when they see a big, sleek, new yacht traveling down a river or across the ocean? Who would not like to jet off to anywhere they want, whenever they want, on their own jet? Anybody want to go to Paris or Aruba today? And who doesn't, from time to time, look at their neighbor's big house and say, I wish I lived there. The thing is, you can't go to jail for envy, so we're pretty much on our own when it comes to curbing our covetousness. How about adultery? Anybody want to talk about adultery today? Sometimes out of curiosity, I've watched the TV show Sister Wives. Has anybody ever seen Sister Wives? Yeah, right? It's about a Mormon family. It's one man and a bunch of women. And they sort of make adultery, which in this case is polygamy, seemed kind of ordinary. And last night, my husband and I watched Scandal. Anybody watch Scandal? That's a good show, right? But almost every other person in Scandal is having an affair. Adultery is like commonplace. It's almost old-fashioned, except in my house. Let's move on to the commandment about stealing. Everyday stealing and thievery is bad enough, but lots of big-time stealing is happening on Wall Street. I think we all know that. And let's not forget Washington, D.C. A growing number of us tax-paying people feel the government is stealing our money right out of our pockets. And I'm not talking politics here, or who did what to whom. I mean, it's that whole machine down in D.C. just wasting our money. According to records kept by the Library of Congress, the House of Representatives has averaged 137 legislative days a year since 2001. That's about 1 day a week of work for every 3 days. Fewer than 3 days a week of work. And I don't think they're getting a whole lot done, do you? Again, this is not politics. I'm talking about both sides. Then there's the commandment that says, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. That's kind of like church speak for what? Thank you. Know anybody who's ever talked behind someone else's back? Anybody ever hear of an unsubstantiated rumor about another person? It's pretty common. It's pretty common we chat about people when they're not present to explain or defend themselves. False witness is often done around the water cooler in the office, or on an assembly line, or at the grocery store, or right here in our church. A friend of mine told me a story about her Aunt Tilly. Everyone in the family knows if you want to get the word out on anything, you can telephone, telegraph, or tell a Tilly. Then there's that commandment about not making idols out of anything. According to Exodus 32, in Moses' time, when he was up there on Mount Sinai communing with God, his people got really uptight. They didn't know what to do with themselves, and they started taking a liking to pagan Hellenistic gods that were very popular at the time. So Moses' brother Aaron, who was down below with the people, created a golden calf idol out of their gold. And when Moses came back and he saw this, he went ballistic. He was outraged. And since then, among Jews and Christians at least, the worship of golden idols is supposed to be off limits. But is it? If you consider all the money that we spend on killing each other, or all the money we spend on cosmetics, or clothes, entertainment, things that numb us like drugs and alcohol and tobacco and fast cars, you could see those as false idols. We love our false idols, don't we? Ooh, I know I do. I like mine. However, this commandment asks us not to go bananas for all that stuff. God doesn't say don't ever, ever indulge, but God says rather, take it easy. Take it easy with the stuff, people. It's good to enjoy them, but they're not to be confused with what's really important in life. The commandment urges us toward a life of quality that endures, the things that lift us up, caring, compassion, things that are important and permanent. Do you know how many landfills we have stockpiled with discarded TVs, computers, cell phones, and other non-recyclable materials? I've read statistics that report up to 3,000 landfills just chock full of that junk we just throw away. Personally, I'm interested. When we were taking a trip this summer, John and I, we traveled through Maine and New York, and I noticed there's a lot of discarded RVs. Have you ever noticed that? People love their RVs, and that's fine. I think it's fun to take and travel and adventure, but there's a lot of RVs sitting fallow on the sides of roads and in backyards. That's crazy. Someday I want to do a movie on where those RVs were and what quality of life the people had that were in them, because I'm sure it's fun. Then there's the Whopper commandment, thou shalt not murder. Some translations say, thou shalt not kill. And I think we all agree it's okay, it's not okay to take the life of another fully grown human being. Yet, murder is committed every single day, even though you do go to prison for that one. I have a friend and professor named Rita Nakashima-Brock who writes and teaches about something she calls moral injury. Have you ever heard of moral injury? It's an internal wound or scar that remains long after the event that caused it. If you look into the eyes of some who have seen war atrocities firsthand, you can identify moral injury. I had a conversation with Dennis Christo the other day, my Army soldier friend. And I love Dennis, and we have these long theological talks. And don't get me wrong, I'm about 95% pacifist. But there's at least 5% of me who believes in defending myself and my family and my country, which I love at all costs. But the cost of human conflict in war, or the human conflict cost on one, can cause systemic moral injury that permeates our culture. I believe we're in the middle of that. I believe we're all shell-shocked from all the war and all the conflict. One of the challenges of the commandments is that we're also used to hearing them and reading them, that we sort of become oblivious to them over time. So I wanted to shake it up a little bit this morning and try on some new ones. And you may have heard about this before, the Paradoxical commandments. Anybody ever heard of those? Well, they were written by Kent M. Keith in 1968 as part of a booklet for student leaders. For more than 30 years, these paradoxical commandments have been all over the place, taught by teachers and preachers and put on refrigerator walls and spoken by motivational speakers. Even Mother Teresa thought the paradoxical commandments were important enough to put up on the walls of her children's home. So I thought, let's revisit these today, even though they're from 1968, because they really pack a punch that shakes up the essence of the commandments. So here we go. 1. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love people anyway. If you do good, people may accuse you of an ulterior motive. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you will win friends, false friends, and true enemies. Go ahead, succeed anyway. 4, the good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest women and men with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest women and the smallest men with the smallest ideas. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Stand up for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. Now we're up to 9. People really need help, but they may attack you if you help them. Help them anyway. Number 10, give the world the best you have, and you may get kicked in the teeth. Give the world your best anyway. As Christians, I believe we are challenged by the 10 Commandments and by the parables that Jesus gave us to do what is good, what is right, and what is just in the world. It's a very difficult, painful world, and we are constantly made to feel fear by the media and through negative groupthink. But let's you and I turn that upside down, and as the paradoxical commandments suggest, be truly people of peace and compassion, in spite of all the bad that's happening around us. Do good.